Welcome to What If Giovanni Sponsored Ash Season 2 Part 4. We've officially made it to the halfway point of this season and are almost ready to wrap the entire Kanto saga up before we begin the next major phase of this epic journey. Last thing before we begin, and you should know the drill by now, there's a stat bar on screen which shows the amount of viewers who watch Ronin's content regularly and are subscribed, and that they are vastly outnumbered by those of you who aren't, and even my channel faces a very similar ratio. So I just want to remind you, whether new viewer or diehard fan, to please consider subscribing to both Ronin and my channel if you aren't already, since it number 1 is completely free, number 2 helps us out tremendously both algorithm wise, like when you like an individual video and it performs better, as well as helping us motivation wise, and number 3, make sure you stay up to date with this series, its various spin-offs and tie-ins, and all our other amazing content. But without further ado, Ronin Charizard and I present to you, Hope Blooms in the Gloom.
With the first lessons Giovanni tried to teach Ash out of the way, murmurs from the spectating subordinates filled the room. Between Meowth's chatty taunting and Ash basically proving everything that the boss Rocket was preaching couldn't stand up to his bond with his Pokemon, some of the new grunts are logically beginning to doubt their choice in joining Team Rocket, and the whispers are far from quiet as they begin to split the attention of the Ground-type master. With only a glance to the massive man, Giovanni silently commands Viper to quiet the insolence or face his wrath. Knowing full well what that look meant, Viper bellows across the battlefield, calling for silence before Giovanni even breaks eye contact. The room falls quiet, now that things are under control. The former Viridian gym leader turns his attention back to this brat that dares defy him. Looks like I need to show him it's still too early to become the master, Giovanni muses as the fight keeps a smirk of excitement on his face. Meanwhile, Ash knows if he's gonna have a chance to win this, he needs to do as Meowth said, and fight like he always has, right alongside his Pokemon, until the bitter end. Giovanni pulls out his next Pokeball and dresses Ash, and all assembled, stating that this lesson will be taught through humiliation, as he sends in the oldest Pokemon in his arsenal, his Charizard. The fire lizard hits the battlefield with a presence the same as Giovanni's, quiet, powerful, and bearing an oppressive aura. Instantly, Ash can feel the room heat up, and this tells him all he needs to know about the difference in power between this Charizard and his own, with Meowth whispering that he's only ever seen this thing battle a paw full of times, never losing, always ruthlessly maiming his opponents. Thus, he begs him to be careful. Roger that, the young trainer says. Even Ash can tell this is a monster. Compared to his own Charizard, this thing might as well be the size of a Moltres. And even though he knows his friend would relish the chance to battle, Ash needs type advantage, and thus reaches for Kinger's Ultra Ball in his bag. But Gio stops his student, reminding him of the stipulations of their battle. He chooses their team, and his choice was for each trainer to use their first 3 Pokemon they had ever caught, making his only options Fearow or Crocodile. Meowth curses the band of Psyduck and their newest capture, while Ash, feeling the beginnings of a strategy start to form, grunts this can still work as he chooses a starter. The Desert Croc emerges with a menacing thud, staring down its former owner and this older, darker version of its rival, while remembering the events of New Island. Fury begins to bubble within it, but this quickly subsides by a smoothing call from Ash. With Crocodile being his first Pokemon, there is none he knows better, and due to this, he shares in that fury, but knows it will only cloud their judgment in the end, and so informs his friend that this is a battle and nothing more. But Giovanni encourages the aggression, saying he wants them to come at him with everything that they have, as he and Charizard have a great deal of trouble showing any mercy. Eyes gleaming dangerously, the tyrant of the desert and his trainer aim to honor Giovanni's request, and to prove his dominance even further, Gio gives Ash the first move, which he doesn't waste, aiming to drop Charizard in one move. Ash commands an all-out Stone Edge that Crocodile aims to erupt with enough speed that sounds like the crack of thunder. Grinning sinisterly, Giovanni turns up the heat by commanding a Fire Blast from Charizard. Ash, feeling confident due to his type advantage and the victory Meowth brought him, simply smirks, as the scales have shifted in his favor from this blatant mistake on his sponsor's part.
Unfortunately, that youthful optimism quickly fades, as under the intensity of the heat, Crocodile's stone pillars melt away, leaving only bubbling magma. Seems in this clash of reptiles, mine is the stronger. Giovanni sneers, using that comment to shake Ash's attention from the battle, as Charizard's Fire Blast never actually stopped moving towards them, still aimed for Crocodile. Fortunately, Meowth being a second set of eyes in a place where all know his secret gives Ash another advantage, as he calls out to his friend to dodge with Dig, even before Ash can refocus his attention, allowing them to capitalize on Giovanni and Charizard's obscured view of Crocodile as it dives into the packed dirt field. Tunneling through the battlefield, Crocodile searches for a spot to surface for best damage, and when it feels a slight turn from Charizard giving away its position, he begins to surface at the command of Ash, this time looking to strike Charizard from its left side. Unfortunately, the trio is again reminded why Giovanni is the leader of Team Rocket. His battle experience is second to none, as Ash even gets a sense that had the man wanted the title, he could have dethroned Lance. Having seen and used this strategy many times, Giovanni doesn't flinch, and with a simple call to watch its side, Crocodile is caught in midair. Just as quickly, Charizard beats his mighty wings, lifting itself off the ground a bit, but more importantly whipping up a terrifyingly powerful hurricane. Crocodile begins to spiral upward, unable to fight the force of the gust, and at the command of its trainer, Charizard ends the excessive flapping, thus begins the next lesson for Ash, a simple one: what comes up must come down. The croc begins to fall, however Ash sees the potential of this predicament, ordering a weaker but faster Stone Edge from his starter. Taking aim, Crocodile manifests an orbit of sharpened rocks before firing its attack. And with the force of the fall behind it, the Stone Edge closes the gap between the two combatants. Using the same defense as before, at the command of its trainer, Charizard is able to melt most of the stones, but again at the cost of its view, taking only one to the wing as consequence that leaves a gaping wound and causes a roar of anguish. Seeing the opening, Ash orders another dig from Crocodile using the speed of his fall, and it's here where he sees his strategy coming together. However, on the other side of the field, Giovanni grows tired of this altercation, telling Charizard he better get things together as he orders a Hyper Beam down the freshly dug hole, and not to let up until Crocodile is forced out. Charging the destructive energy, Charizard fires into the ground, shaking the battle arena and causing the safety barriers to surge with power as they erupt to the base. Ash yells for Crocodile to keep digging as fast as it can. They need as many holes in this place as possible, so no matter what happens, don't stop moving. What follows is a building frustration from Giovanni at the inability to end this battle, forcing him to tell Charizard to unleash his true power. Unfortunately, Charizard has reached its limits as the beam begins to fade. This is exactly what Ash was waiting for, as he calls for a Thunder Fang, causing Crocodile to surface like a lightning bolt with his mouth sparking as he takes a glancing bite out of the flame Pokemon. "Boss, you need to do something else," Meowth warns, seeing the fire starter shake off the damage easily. But Ash is way ahead of him by recalling Crocodile. "Not that kind of something, the big lug is our best chance at winning this," hisses the Scratch Cat in protest. This earns Meowth a glare, one similar to Giovanni's, as Ash reprimands not to question his choices in front of the enemy, and encourages the cat to have faith in their family and their abilities. However, the tone isn't angry or manipulative, just confident. Geo sees the two bickering and takes it as a sign of the fear sinking in. Deciding to keep Charizard in, Ash's mentor tells him to choose its next Pokemon. That is, unless he's forfeiting, which is understandable, as he could hardly do anything with his best.
Turning his attention away from Meowth, Ash smirks and readies his next ball. "Fearow, I choose you." Annoyed as the grunts are beginning to sway back to his side, confident in voicing their fickle support for him as the boss and Ash's persistence, Giovanni resolves to stop being so gentle, if they can call it that. But unfortunately, the start of the battle gives Ash a free turn, as Charizard has to recharge from the Hyper Beam, and it's not wasted, as Ash and Fearow use their favorite opener, Agility. The matriarch of Ash's team caws as she loosens her muscles, limbering up for the battle that lay ahead, as Ash calls to her to take a good look around before she takes flight, so she knows the layout of the room. Finally able to move, Giovanni orders a Hurricane, simply to demonstrate who is the more powerful of the flying type. Meowth, in fear for his friend, so crucial to his growth, nervously clings to Ash a bit too hard, causing him to yelp and pet the cat to soothe him. "Sorry boss, things just don't look too good from here." Huffing, Ash reminds the cat not to show any doubt to their opponent again, as he punches the air and tells his first catch to break through with Drill Run, causing Fearow to flap her wings once for altitude before tucking them in and becoming a spinning spear that breaks cleanly through the wall of wind with no issue, aimed directly for Charizard. "I said your best. This is just sloppy. Charizard, up!" And with that simple jeer, the pseudo-dragon, with only a minimal strain, lifts his massive frame high enough that Fearow sails harmlessly beneath it, even with the hole in its wing there to impede it. Unfortunately for Boss Rocket, this is where Ash and Crocodile's setup comes into play, as Ash tells Fearow to dive into one of the holes and use another agility while out of sight. Shockingly, the bird dives without hesitation, even though it literally flying blind. However, when Giovanni looks to his protege to reprimand him, he freezes, seeing what looks like an aura of Fearow perched and enveloping Ash and Meowth, protectively like against Sabrina. He glances to see if the spectators and hopefully Namba have taken notice, but they, like Ash, seem oblivious. And what's worse is this distraction has left Charizard without a partner. So when Fearow surfaces from the hole behind it far faster than Crocodile could, the fire flying type is unable to avoid a drill run directly to the back for critical damage, thus negating the ineffectiveness of the ground type attack.
Ash cheers as Fearow passes, appearing more like a blur than an animal, and she takes right back into another hole just as Charizard rights itself to let out another fire blast. However, repeating the process, Fearow is able to gradually increase her speed until she is too fast to perceive, and it appears as if Charizard is being batted back and forth by the wind itself. Evidence that Fearow had not only adopted, but perfected Crocodile's Whack-A-Diggly technique. Hearing the whispers again, much to his chagrin, Geo sees the lesson he wanted to teach slipping away, and so roars to his partner to get a hold of itself and take their opponent seriously, or else. Having known his trainer as long as Charizard has, it recognizes the threat isn't empty, and so stops Fearo's speedy assault in the most straightforward way possible, by waiting and taking a final drill run right to the gut in order to grab Fearo and throw her towards the ground in an unnatural way, forcing her to kill all that built up momentum to right herself. Praising the use of Endure from his lizard, Giovanni orders a sunny day, introducing another lesson. Never go for petty pot shots when you can land one devastating blow. Charizard then glows and spits a fireball which hangs in the air, brightening the room. Cautiously, Ash orders a roost to take the edge off of the exhaustion that high-speed maneuver must have caused, but to his surprise, Giovanni doesn't make another move, and instead has Charizard laying close to him where there aren't as many holes.
Once it's clear that he'll have to attack, Ash begrudgingly tells Fearo to confuse Charizard with pure speed and end it with a mix of Aerial Ace and Drill Run. As Fearo flies, it leaves after images that seem like the beginnings of Double Team, but Giovanni is still silent, as Charizard merely scratches its belly in boredom. Set off by this dismissal of their power, Ash orders Fearo to finish it up, just as she soars directly overhead. However, there is a slight delay as she seems to have sensed there is something else afoot, and in that moment, the aura around Ash fades, just as she dives down for what Ash dubs Real Ace. In response, Giovanni orders another Endure, grinning when Charizard jumps to intercept the attack and wraps its arms around Fearo, leaving it in a perfect position to be pile-driven into the ground as she struggles, but is in vain, as with satisfaction Giovanni gives his final command. Blast Burn. Glowing with a destructive aura, the explosion erupts from Charizard and Fearo before they hit the ground, shaking the whole rocket base in the process. Smoke and fire fill the area, forcing Ash and Meowth to cover their faces. But that is the least of their worries, as they begin frantically looking for any signs that Fearo is okay. When the dust settles, Charizard stands and Fearo does not, as she's been left burnt and limp, held aloft by her neck as Charizard spews flames in the air as a victory celebration. At the command of the boss rocket, Fearo is thrown to Ash's feet, smoldering and still, bringing the score to 1 apiece.
Instead of recalling her, Ash rushes to her side. Though it's been injured severely, Fearo is still breathing, but medical attention is required if they are to avoid Meowth's warning of permanent damage. Giovanni speaks up, bringing back his analogy of Pokemon and people being tools, suggesting that Fearo is now a broken one. Maybe you should replace her for one of the Fearo that we have here at the base, something more capable. Thank you for those, by the way. Though angry, there is a moment of deep confusion for Ash, broken only when the singed form of his first catch trembling in his arms reminds him of the day they met, the day her flock was decimated. Looking around the room at a few snickering grunts, it dawns on Ash that is what his sponsor meant by his associates taking care of the downed flock. This triggers the boy, as even Fearo valiantly tries to push herself back up for more, but stoically he apologizes to her and begs her to rest, while returning her as he glares at Giovanni and causes his fake smirk to drop. Unforgiving rage. Gio recognizes it all too well, but nevertheless concludes that to win this battle, he cannot allow this boy to stay centered. Boss? You okay? Meowth questions, but there's no response. Just a calm declaration of silent fury. Crocodile go! Foregoing the usual fanfare in order to get to the vengeance. Hitting the field, Crocodile sees his former opponent still standing before it. Then, a feeling from Ash hits it and conveys all he needs to know, causing instant synchronization through mere emotion. Feeling confident, Ash's mentor leaves in his flying salamander, as with Sunny Day up, he has a surefire way to end this. Ordering it back into the air, the Charizard shakily takes flight again. However, like he had done last match, there is no movement from Ash or his starter. Disregarding whether this is confidence or fear, Geo simply relishes in the free turn for the recharge period after Blast Burn to fade. As freed from its restrictions and with their artificial sun fading, Giovanni calls for a final move to end it all, Solar Beam. With the excess fire-type energy acting as fuel, the grass-type attack is charged at nearly the same speed as the light which makes it up. Charizard then opens his maw to fire the attack when Ash finally gives a command, and in a low, rage-fueled growl, calls for Stone Edge.
As that mysterious energy reforms around Ash, but this time in the form of Crocodile, before Giovanni can respond, the Croc slams its tail on the battlefield, causing a spire of stones to jut out toward Charizard just before it releases its built-up energy. In an act of self-preservation, Charizard fires Solar Beam with no order from its master, but it's no use. The Stone Edge is barely impeded and causes the beam to splinter and strike the barriers before slamming into Charizard hard enough to pin it against the wall. Shockingly, Crocodile continues its onslaught and forces the Spire of Stone to continue growing while slowly crushing Charizard against the cracking safety barrier, as it will clearly give out long before the agonized Charizard calling to his trainer for help. Giovanni says nothing, partially out of the shock, out of the brutality, and partially due to feeling the pain was deserved for failing, leaving the boss to watch as his Pokemon's life is threatened. Looking on as Fury and a Moxie Boost proved to be a frightening combination, Meowth, like a few of the less experienced grunts, is deeply disturbed. Being the voice of reason, he manages to get through to Ash after many pleas to stop the unnecessary assault. Realizing there's one more opponent, Ash barks for Krookodile to stop. Much to his displeasure, he complies, allowing the stones to crumble and Charizard to crash as it quickly is carted off to the med bay like Persian before it. Watching his fire lizard go with its tail flame still burning bright as its only sign of life, Giovanni looks back at his protege, seeing his path to victory in the blinding rage, bitterly musing that the boy and Silver are more alike than he gave them credit for, before suggesting Ash send Fearow along as well. However, both Ash and Meowth hiss that they'll treat her wounds before they dare leave another friend in his clutches.
Though he holds the momentum, Giovanni is off-put by Ash and his Pokemon's ability to overcome all he's been throwing at them, even if it's only been by the skin of their teeth. So wanting to throw them off their game permanently, he cunningly chooses the opponent for Krookodile, which will crumble their foundation, the Croc's own mother. As the older golden Krookodile takes to the field with a deeper thud that kicks up dust, she roars and glares down her child and the boy entrusted with his safety, with either no recognition or visible care. Ash and Meowth curse in sync, having both expected this, but with no other choice, do their best to call out to encourage their friend. But already they can see he has reverted to little more than a scared sand doll in her presence, and has begun lowering himself as much as possible to appear small and unthreatening. Giovanni nearly purrs in delight that his failsafe for the creature is still in effect, and orders his own Krookodile to capitalize on this weakness by stacking on bulk ups to end the battle with a single power trip. Fearing the worst that could take place, his power trip will quadruple in power for every use of bulk up, Meowth leaps from Ash's shoulder and onto Krookodile, lightly smacking him to snap him out of his fear while he only cowers harder. However, both stop these useless actions, as the recruits which had begun to cheer on Ash suddenly begin to gasp and yell for the kid to get out of the way. And looking up, Meowth and Krookodile see that Ash is now standing in front of them, arms crossed and barking to Giovanni and the mother Croc that he refused to let them bully his starter anymore. Giovanni's scowl deepens, but as he has come to deeply believe that Ash and he are a lot alike, he takes this as a challenge to prove it. Knowing Ash will prioritize himself over his tools, he orders Krookodile forward upon her 6th bulk up, as by now she has become a hulking beast that charges at a blistering speed as evil energy leaks off of her.
Before she crosses the distance, Krookodile finds his courage, rushing to put his head between Ash's legs and flip him up and behind him out of danger with Meowth, where the two land painfully but safe nonetheless as another shockwave rocks the base. The cat and his master clamber back to their feet to see that the power difference from the many buffs Krookodile had successfully stopped its mother's charge and was only pushed back a foot or so. Even more shockingly, as the two grapple, the smaller red croc is able to slowly but surely overpower its elder, fueled by something more potent than the fear of Giovanni, seemingly prepared to retaliate until it pulls her down to the ground and cuddles up to her. At first, the mother croc continues to rage, heeding Giovanni's command to get back up and finish her son off. But as Krookodile holds her tight and allows her to batter it, she slowly calms and shrinks as her bulk wears off, a sign that she is too unwilling to fight as a solemn hiss escapes from her, and she begins to lick and nurse her child's wounds as the room of hardened criminals are left stunned that something so pure could happen in a place like this. Happy at least his friend could be with his mom, Ash taunts Giovanni to pick another fighter, while Meowth makes an obscene gesture. Scowling, his mentor heeds this warning and returns his Krookodile before snapping at Matari to bring him something else, informing Ash they'll need to have a short intermission before resuming. With a moment to relax, Ash realizes how tense he's been this entire time, as he and Meowth call Krookodile to them and happily hug him to thank it for protecting them like that. However, this celebration is interrupted by one of the Rattata-wielding recruits walking over to him with a frown. Grunting to know what she wants, Ash obviously isn't wanting more distractions, and the pop of Meowth's claws and a rumble from Krookodile emphasize this. But somewhat nervously, the woman holds out her hand, and in it is a hyper potion, which Ash takes hesitantly, as she huffs and tells him not to be such a soft and fight smart like they did against her. Then she about faces to rejoin the others while Viper glares and makes a beeline to punish her.
Seeing this, Giovanni must fight to keep a happy smirk off his face. While this bodes poorly for his continued existence as the Rocket Boss, it's further evidence that Ash is the leader that can unite and raise this organization to heights never before imagined. However, before he can muse any further, Matari tugs on his jacket and deposits a heavy ball in his hand, before getting as far away from the field as she can, seemingly knowing just as well as him this last Pokemon is his most dangerous. Looking back to Ash, he sees the boy has been staring at him while petting and treating Krookodile with the potion, and he can't help but praise him. Kiddo, you've made me very proud today. You rebel, but you've shown me that everything I've taught you was well worth my effort. But now, it's time for a final lesson. Power is absolute, and no tool in my arsenal can help me prove it better than this walking calamity. So let's hope Krookodile survives facing the One-Eyed King. And with that, he lobs the dark-colored Pokeball, and from it comes a Nidoking. Similar to most of the boss's mons, it's above average size, but what makes it so unsettling is the single scar running down his right eye, which has apparently robbed the creature of sight in it. Calmly, Nidoking turns to look at his trainer, while Giovanni nods as if ordering an executioner to carry out its will. And only then does Nidoking let out a deafening roar that from its power alone causes the ground beneath it to splinter. And when it subsides and Ash's ears ring, Giovanni asks if he's ready, to which the boy and his crocodile answer with their resolve unshaken.
There is a tense silence that feels like an eternity, as it's clear both combatants want to pick the perfect opening move. In the next moment, they decide a wild charge and an outrage are ordered simultaneously, and both ground types suddenly flare with an electric and draconic energy, respectively, before dashing towards each other. Crocodile's attack is obviously the more effective one, as he rakes its fangs and claws across the One-Eyed King's body, while its electricity simply dissipates, resulting in double damage from the recoil, which causes Meowth to cackle in delight that they've got the old man so scared he's even forgotten the basics. And at this, even Ash can't help but to smirk maliciously at the thought. However, just as quickly as they collided, the drill Pokemon shows the damage means little to it, as Giovanni's real stratagem is revealed. He only used the high-speed electric attack to close the distance and make his follow-up unavoidable. Toxic. The purple-clad king suddenly latches onto Crocodile, coming face to face with it and belching a noxious cloud of black gas that the croc has no choice but to inhale deeply in the midst of its outrage. As he swings wildly and misses by a mile, only succeeding in dissipating the cloud and exposing his back for Nidoking to expertly slip and reapply its grapple around the croc's midsection in order to perform a gruesome-looking suplex and plant Crocodile's head into the ground, as Giovanni follows up with another broad command. Venoshock. Both creatures suddenly glow as a purple lighting withers them and causes Crocodile to roar in agony, as Nidoking is ordered to return to Giovanni's side to recreate the distance. Crocodile at first twitches and continues to groan as it slowly stands, clearly suffering from a severe poison. Ash attempts to praise his tenacity, but before he can, it's clear that the confusion has also set in from the premature outrage, and Ash curses his short-sightedness as he tries calling to it like he did against Sabrina. However, before he can, Giovanni distracts him with the question, "What's wrong? You don't seem to be enjoying the battle like you usually do." Delilah told me you used to dream about dramatic battles like this one. Meowth shudders as his instincts tell him not to even look Ash in his eyes, as he screams that his mother's name is Delia, and the bastard damn well knows it. The fury burns away his compassion, as he orders Crocodile to snap out of it and to tear their opponent apart. That instant, the croc responds and breaks through the haze on its mind, though its body still suffers from the poison. However, he shares his master's hate-fueled focus, and so bathes himself in the dark energy of foul play, before tunneling into the ground in the blink of an eye, in hopes of ending the fight quickly with the element of surprise.
Giovanni grins at his plan working flawlessly, and actually has the gall to turn his back on the battle after ordering the One-Eyed King to put an end to this, while he casually lights a cigarette. Cheering his starter on, Ash realizes far too late he'd lost when he'd asked for the battle in the first place, as the older ground type has no trouble closing his eyes to focus on the vibrations Crocodile causes, and suddenly it shifts his foot, causing the ground behind it to glow an angry orange before erupting violently and exposing Crocodile with the force of an earth power. But sharing Ash's inner drive, the croc continues forward. Nevertheless, his reward is only a swift end to the fight, as Nidoking spins around and drives a dark energy-coated fist into his face for a sucker punch that sends Ash's starter skidding on its back unconscious at Giovanni's feet, just as he coolly sits on the beast's belly and takes a long drag. Blowing out his smoke, he asks everyone assembled what they've learned today. Ash's legs give out as his adrenaline leaves him, and even Meowth scrambles to stay on his perch as the room suddenly erupts with ferocious chants of "Boss! Boss! Boss!" drowning the boy in his loss as Meowth calls to him, only snapping him out of it when he resorts to using the name Ash for the first time. By this point, he sees that the grunts have been ordered back to their various tasks by Viper, and that Giovanni has knelt down to give Crocodile something while patting its head and praising its growth. Feeling sick, Ash returns his starter and climbs back to his feet as his sponsor approaches him, but as he tries to walk past, Giovanni places a hand on his shoulder and asks him to wait. Resulting in that festering anger Ash feels to cloud his mind as he rounds with a roar not to touch him and tries to swing his fist into the tall man's face, while Meowth even takes a protective swipe. However, this only results in the fist being caught pitifully and the claws missing their mark and sinking into the mob boss's hands, as Giovanni continues to speak, seemingly unaffected. "You did well. I haven't had a challenge like that in a long time. Let go of us. Why didn't you just give my Crocodile an antidote? Relax. Anger is why you lost in the first place. It narrows your vision. Meowth retracts his claws only when Ash's hand is released, and Geo blows his smoke away from Ash's face and produces a red handkerchief to wrap around his now bleeding hand, while the boy continues to walk away. Listen to me, I know your mother's name, and I'd like you to know that after our call, nothing happened. Ash freezes and clenches his fist. Though his sponsor was certainly a liar of the highest order and skill, if anything had proven itself to be true, it was that this man did nothing that didn't benefit him, and thus he felt sickened again by the gut reaction to believe this claim. Where is she? The older man finishes his cancer stick and does away with the butt by flicking it as he answers. A safe house near Cerulean, but I'm guessing you found allies that told you that already, so currently she's being moved somewhere else that I don't even know. Then, shaking his jacket further down his sleeve in order to see his expensive-looking watch, he turns his back, dismissing the boy, but not before leaving him with something even heavier to dwell on. You're obviously not ready to take over for me just yet, but I'd be honored to call you my partner, meaning no more ultimatums or threats, just you and I taking and doing what we want when we want. This offer stuns both Ash and his Scratch Cat, and seeing this, Giovanni again graced them with a rare and genuine smile as he turns and pats the boy on his head and begins to take his leave. By the way, you can go. Get those last 2 badges you need and get ready for the league in a few weeks. Our raids against the birds will begin afterwards, so you'll be doing us a big favor by keeping the region's eyes on the competition as strong as you've gotten. After that, the boss is gone, leaving Ash and Meowth alone with a handful of recruits repairing the now thoroughly decimated training room. Hastily, he returns to his quarters and changes out of his uniform, robotically folding it back into a bundle and putting it in his bag along with his egg in case it's needed in the future. As the duo make their way up to the stairs leading to the game corner for the first time in weeks, they are shocked to find it's only noon, and that the establishment was apparently cleared out for their battle. But regardless, their first destination is still the Pokemon Center to get Fearow and Crocodile much needed treatment. Once there, Nurse Joy and her Chansey smile and prepare to take the Pokeballs into the back, as Ash asks her to wait and turns me off to order him to go along for a checkup.
The cat seems hesitant to leave his side for the first time since they entered the base, but as the nurse is looking directly at him, he has no choice but to silently comply, sadly nuzzling against Ash and earning a scratch under his chin before he leaps onto Chansey's head and is taken away with the others. However, with him gone, Ash only then recognizes how paranoid he feels being in a location housing a Team Rocket base, and wonders who around him answers to Giovanni in secret. The thought makes him feel more isolated than ever, and without thinking, he quickly releases Psyduck to fill in for Meowth for the time being. The dopey duck looks around curiously before telepathically asking what's up. This at least causes Ash to chuckle as he responds that he literally has to get used to that before picking up the bird. Heading for the cafeteria, Psyduck cheers that he should have led with them getting food. Not long after the two are seated with a meal each, Ash's plate being topped with everything that looked good to him, as the impromptu cafeteria made in the Team Rocket base was almost as soul draining as the work itself, while Psyduck is happy with a few loaves of fresh baked bread to stuff its beak with. Though now armed with a better mastery of its psychic energy, he makes a storm of crumbs. Ash is in too deep a thought to remind him of his manners, as everything he's gone through continues running through his head. This reverie is short-lived though, as before Ash can even take his first mouthful of food, an excited voice cries out his name. Tensing, Ash instinctively imagines one of the Team Rocket admins here to pull him back underground, but as his rationality catches up with his emotions, he realizes that the speaker is young and female, a pair of traits that none of Giovanni's top cronies possess both of. In fact, on closer inspection, he knows this voice. It's Giselle.
Moments later, the Pokemon Tech alum plops down across from him, teasingly scolding that he never contacted her after the SSN incident, and that she's been worried sick about him. Blushing, Ash admits that it sorta slipped his mind, and chuckles that sometimes he could be just as dim-witted as his Psyduck. However, when he looks at the yellow avian for confirmation, he sees no trace of his usual goofy expression. Instead, Psyduck seems possessed by a clarity of purpose which has made it single-mindedly glare the girl down. Baffled at this reaction, Ash asks his water type what's wrong, feeling the tension emanating off of him like heat. But Giselle laughs that it's nothing. She just used him to play dress-up in her cabin when she and Misty were having some girl time with the SSN, and Psyduck probably hasn't forgiven her for the tutu yet. Laughing with her, Ash admits that would be pretty funny, a claim which seems to annoy Psyduck to no end, causing it to huff then return to his Pokeball without Ash's instruction. However, Ash doesn't mind, as after all the time spent in the rocket base, it feels good laughing with a friend, and so he spends the next hour or so catching up with Giselle, listening to her stories and giving a few accounts of his own, albeit edited ones to avoid mentioning Team Rocket, Annabelle, or Mewtwo. This does take some creativity, especially when Giselle asks how he survived New Island, and mentioned that it's been all over the news the last few months, though thankfully Ash is able to skate past most of this using his trip to Hoenn to distract her. Hearing this, Giselle is too enraptured by the idea of seeing other regions to challenge him on any of it, grinning that one day she'd love to take a romantic cruise around the world with him.
Fortunately, Ash is saved by the bell here, as the PA system chimes to tell the young man that his Pokemon are healed and ready for collection. Excusing himself, Ash makes his way up to the counter. There, Meowth is waiting for him alongside Crocodile and Fearo's balls. Scampering up on his boss's shoulders, Meowth whispers that Ash sure looks to be in a good mood for a guy that just got his clock cleaned by Giovanni. But Ash just grins that being out of the base has finally let him clear his head, and he realized something very important. Meowth asks what that is, and with a manic glint in his eyes, Ash replies that they made Giovanni sweat, and if they can do that when battling on his terms, they can do it again. Sounding impressed, Meowth muses that Ash never intended to take Giovanni's offer of partnership, to which Ash grins that he didn't. He just wanted to lull him into a false sense of security before they launch their counterattack. This conversation is then cut off by the arrival of Giselle, who pouts that Ash has been gone for far too long, and she's not letting him go without saying goodbye again. Laughing that he had already apologized, Ash promises that he'll come back to the table soon. He just has to do something first. Urging him not to take too long, Giselle steps away, causing Ash to let out a sigh that she's really not going to leave him alone, is she? Looking equally put out, Meowth agrees, adding that Miss Nosy isn't the worst of their problems, before telling his boss to look around. Doing as his partner said, Ash notices several set of eyes on him. Most of them have a good grace only to give him a furtive glance while muttering behind their hands, though a few stare openly, and more than once he thinks that he hears the phrase "kid from New Island" or "one who died."
Making his way over to the phone bank so he can have an excuse to turn his back on everyone, Ash mutters that he wishes he had some sort of disguise, since it'll cause issues if people keep staring at him everywhere he goes. Thankfully, this gives Meowth an idea, with the crafty cat telling his trainer to hold tight while he begins to dial a number Ash doesn't recognize. A moment later, the video phone screen flashes to life, and to Ash's surprise, the person on the other end of the screen looks a lot like one of the ace trainers who gifted him Meowth. James, it seems, didn't expect this call any more than Ash did, gawking at the point of confusion until he sees that it was Meowth who called. At which point he smiles at his old friend, asking how he's been. Compared to their last encounter during the meeting, Meowth is far more talkative, grinning that he's been good, and asking how he and Jessie have been holding up without him to keep them out of trouble. To Meowth's surprise, James reveals that he hasn't actually seen much of Jessie in the months since the boss split them up, with him being in the Galar region while she's in Hoenn. There is a sorrow to his tone as he says this, and despite his feelings towards Team Rocket as a whole, Ash can't help but feel empathy for the admin, speaking up for the first time and telling him that he understands how tough being separated from one's friends can be. This small act of humanity returns James's smile. With a bit more enthusiasm in his voice, he asks Ash how he can help him. Ash then admits that it was Meowth's idea to call, allowing the Scratch Cat to take over and explain the situation they found themselves in. James listens closely, and when Meowth is done, says he thinks he has an idea for a disguise that can help Ash, one that he's employed several times to great success. Now, it is Ash's turn to listen, and so it is 5 minutes later that the boy finds himself standing before Giselle once more. Grinning broadly, she asks if he was able to get whatever he needed done, and Ash replies that he almost has, though first he'll need some help from her. The Pokemon Tech alum beams that she'd be happy to help Ash however she can. He need only ask. And so, taking a deep breath, Ash tells her what he needs, and that is for her to teach him how to dress up as a girl.
This is obviously not the request that Giselle had in mind, but even she gives no sign of this. Her grin not even slipping as she tells him she'd be happy to, and that they're going to have so much fun. Though Meowth can't risk speaking with Giselle around, she can almost hear the Scratch Cat thinking how much he doubts that. And truthfully, Ash would have to agree with his partner. However, James did say this would be the best way to pass unnoticed, and right now, that's Ash's highest goal. He just wishes Giselle didn't have that evil look. A little while later, the pair find themselves at a local boutique, with Ash trying on half a dozen dresses of various styles. Finally, he finds one that works. When he steps out of the dressing room to ask Giselle what she thinks, the girl replies that it's perfect, just missing a wig. A little bewildered, Ash asks if that's necessary, since he would just wear his cap, but Giselle won't hear a word of it, insisting that his tattered old cap is the furthest thing from cute, and she's already picked out the perfect wig for him. Grumbling a little that he likes his cap, Ash reluctantly stows the hat inside of his backpack and allows Giselle to get to work on it. When it is finally in place, the ensemble is complete. Ash has to admit that not even his own mother would recognize him dressed like this. From the floor, Meow snickers at his boss. However, this is cut short when moments later Giselle pulls a bow identical to the one in Ash's wig from her bag and fastens it to the normal type's tail. This earns the girl a bitter look from the cat. But maybe because she's less adept at reading the expressions of Pokemon, Giselle seemingly takes this look of one of happiness, beaming that she would never forget about him. Not wanting to risk Meowth blurting something out, Ash pulls his pseudo starter onto his shoulder before thanking Giselle for her help as she asks where to next, which he responds, the gym. The walk to Celadon's gym involves far less attention towards Ash, though he still isn't so sure if he's willing to let this situation be a permanent fix to it, and he even wonders if he'll have to compete in the league dressed like this. But then again, he was told that he needed to keep the region's attention on him to help the Rockets set up their ambushes for the birds.
He pauses for a moment, shaking the thought of aiding them in any way from his mind, and curses the residuals of his hero worship Giovanni. Before he can think on this any further, a soft bop on his head breaks his thoughts, bringing him back to the moment at hand. Giselle asks what he's been thinking about so hard, but Ash waves it off his hunger, reminding that she interrupted lunch technically, as he grabs the door handle. Unfortunately, as the gym door opens, Ash is met with a room full of girls, the employees of the gym, and they all look at Ash in puzzlement as he stumbles, trying to mask his voice suddenly speaking in a higher tone. In an attempt to break the awkwardness of the situation, one of the members of the staff asks if there's anything they can help with. Miss, Ashley. My name is Ashley. Ash mumbles nervously, hoping they haven't caught on to who he is, while Giselle and Meowth snicker. Greeting Ashley, the manager reiterates her question, and Ashley, avoiding eye contact as much as possible, declares her intention to challenge Erica. But unfortunately, the manager informs them that the gym leader will not be taking any more battles today, and sadness washes over the boy's face, as he reasons that if he's forced to wait too long, that could throw off all his timing for any of his plans.
However, Fortune smiles as an elegant young woman emerges from the doors that led to the battle area. It's Erica, and all of her attendants greet her passionately, asking if she's heading home for the day. With a sigh, the grass specialist confirms that she is, as all of her perfuming classes are done, and the challengers as of late have been a major bore since Misty months back, even complaining that her poor Vileplume has been begging for a workout. Clearing her throat, Ashley interjects into the conversation, directly challenging Erica and her Vileplume. The manager chides that Lady Erica's Vileplume is one of her main team members, not the kind of challenge for a novice. Now turning red in the face, Ash begins to use his normal voice, only for Meowth to pinch him while Giselle elbows him, reminding Ash of the facade they are putting on. As Ashley corrects in a high-pitched tone, she has 7 badges actually, catching the interest of Celadon's gym leader. Erica looks closely and asks the girl what her name is. Ashley. My name is Ashley, the young girl says, hoping not to blow her cover. Looking over the would-be challenger, Erica contemplates this offer. It has been a while since her and Vileplume cut loose, and this girl has Fuji's badge, remembering the difficult battles she's had with the old hermit in the past. Also, there's this overwhelming feeling like the young gym leader has met this person before. Relenting, Erica accepts, but specifies that there's only enough time for a single battle, meaning she'll have to agree to a one-on-one.
Ashley is a little thrown off by this. Usually there isn't really a choice, but she then sees the reality of her situation. Either they take the battle, or they wait. And this close to crunch time, that's not a good idea. Plus, a one-on-one could be in her favor, so she accepts. Leading the way, Erica walks back to the battlefield while Ashley stumbles to catch up, not really used to walking in a dress. After a few moments, the two find themselves in the battle area, and suddenly, Erica dismisses the gym staff for the day. Some put up a fight, especially the girl who usually referees, but Erica pulls the boss card, telling them to leave now or their workloads will be doubled tomorrow. Reluctantly, the gym clears, leaving only its leader, the challenger, and Giselle. The kimono-bearing woman then glares at Ash, ordering him to do away with that ridiculous disguise. Ash and Meowth flinch, with every muscle in their body stiffening, but the boy reasons his cover can be blown already. Playing coy, Ashley claims she doesn't know what Erica means, but Meowth shuts this down before any time is wasted, whispering to him to just give it up. Ash huffs, but still tears off the dress and wig as quick as his brain is alakazam, breathing a sigh of relief as the wig was becoming incredibly itchy. Meanwhile, as she sits in the stands, Giselle pouts that her hard work has all been for nothing. Scratching his neck as Meowth produces his hat from his bag for him, Ash asks how he was recognized, to which Erica lists that she'd met him before as a friend of Misty, seen him on New Island, and on top of all that, he doesn't make a very convincing girl. Grinning, Ash asserts that just because she knows who he is doesn't change why he's here, as he needs that gym badge. Erica then narrows her eyes, confirms that he really only wants to complete his gym challenge, asserting that if he's lying and is here on the orders of the Team Rocket boss, she can have Interpol there in seconds. Ash cringes at the accusation, and Erica notices this, but still prods that she sent her staff away for their own safety, and is therefore at a disadvantage, and so asks him to clarify if he means to take it by force. Disgusted by Erica's comments, Ash frustratedly exclaims that he's only here for a battle, reminding the rules say he only gets the badge if he wins. Erica is shocked by this, as ever since the New Island incident and the rumors about Ash, Silver, and Richie, she was under the assumption that they may have already been fully turned to Team Rocket members, but it truly seems that a legit battle is all he wants.
Okay, Ash, you want a battle? Then you got it. Excited? Ash knows exactly who he's going to use. Charizard. But Meowth is quick to shut this down, citing that Erica seems to be trusting them for right now, so maybe that level of brutality should be held off on. After some thought, the trainer agrees with the cat and reaches deeper into his belt, readying a Pokeball. Without hesitation, both trainers produce their respective Pokemon. For Erica, it's her oldest and most powerful, Vileplume, while Ash has chosen its less intimidating second stage, his Gloom. Erica smiles a bit. She didn't think Ash would have such a cute Pokemon, thinking back to the days when her giant flower was a more stench-filled bud. However, this is still a battle, and she needs to find out his angle, and if he really only wants a batch. Starting them off, she orders a Seed Bomb. Erica's ace begins to contract wildly, moving in a motion like it may expel something. Ash tells Gloom to be ready. Gloom is a little timid at first, striking Erica's fancy. However, it quickly toughens up with the encouragement from both Meowth and its trainer. The mid-stage Mon watches as Vileplume bursts with the seed from the crown atop its head. Unfortunately, this is no ordinary seed, as it begins to glow, coming down on Gloom. Thinking quick and at the behest of Meowth, Ash tells Gloom to counter with the Moon Blast that sends the seed back. Heeding its orders, Gloom does just that, only to be met with a surprise and an explosion as the moves collide. While Vileplume seems unfazed, the shockwave that follows catches Gloom off guard, knocking it and its confidence down. Ash calls to Gloom to see if it's okay. The weed wobbles to its feet, a bit dazed at the sheer force of that explosion, looking to her trainer. Ash sees a look that says, "I don't think I can do this." Meowth knows instantly what this is, jumping down from his favorite perch as Ash calls for a quick timeout. What follows is the feline walking out to Gloom to have a little one-on-one chat with it. Suddenly, the weed monster cries out happily, seemingly more motivated than ever. As Meowth scampers back, Ash questions what that was.
Admonishing that he had better not be making impossible promises again, the cat smiled that he only gave a light pep talk. Oh, and that they'd be sure to find her a sunstone after this, earning him a much more playful glare than the one he gotten earlier that day. However, they must refocus, as Erica and Vileplume are on the move again. The flower monster rushes in with orders of multiple seed bombs. Now knowing what the technique does, Ash has an idea, and he tells Gloom to hold steady, as they need perfect timing. And once the next bomb is released, Ash tells her to spin and use the momentum to dodge the seed bomb. Dancing gracefully across the battle area, the poison bulb spins using the pressure of the explosions to increase her speed. Eventually, the barrage loses its ammunition, and Vileplume stops at the command of Erica. But this doesn't stop Gloom, and the increase to its speed as it dances has an unforeseen consequence. Small petals begin to swirl around it, and before anyone knows what is happening, a storm of flowers shoots in the direction of Vileplume. Erica has no time to respond as her Pokemon is enveloped in it, and Vileplume is hit with one petal after another. Genuinely impressed, Erica can't help but congratulate the trainer on his Gloom learning petal dance, but Ash's fixation is still in the battle, as he tells Gloom to stop. Unfortunately, the momentum of the spinning that it has gained is too much to control, causing it to continue pelting its evolutionary counterpart with petals. Erica sees that things are shifting in Ash's favor, and so she orders Vileplume to react, using Pollen Puff. A purple bundle of pollen is then fired off to stop the barrage of petals, but unfortunately, Erica's want to stop Gloom and not hurt it causes her to hold back. Thus, the pollen is torn up by the storm, allowing Gloom's attack to continue, but not for long, as it eventually stops, finally losing energy. Now a bit wobbly from all the spinning, Gloom staggers around the arena, trying to make heads or tails of her surroundings. Ash and Giselle then call to Gloom, trying to help her find her sense of direction, and this eventually works, with Gloom finally able to focus on Vileplume. Unfortunately, this one is a look of nausea.
Erica sees this as an opportunity to end this. Vileplume has sustained enough damage from that petal dance. Ordering a Drain Punch, the poisonous flower aims to end the battle with this final blow. However, as Vileplume closes in, the look on Gloom's face intensifies as what everyone thought was nausea turns out to be something much worse. A stench begins to permeate throughout the battle area, so vile that everyone, including Vileplume, can do nothing but cover their noses. Ash and Meowth do their best to hide the displeasure of the foul odor as Gloom looks around, seemingly unaware of what just happened. But in this embarrassing moment, opportunity presents itself. Not wanting to let it get away, Ash capitalizes, ordering Gloom on the attack with another petal dance. This time, it's a little bit more controlled, allowing Gloom to focus on a precise spot, lifting the flower off of its feet and giving Ash another idea, as he tells Gloom to blow the storm of flowers up with a full-powered Moon Blast. The combo of techniques is too much for Erica's champion, so when it falls, it tries to rise, but it can't stay up. Ash and Meowth celebrate as Gloom joins them, still unaware of the smell it exudes. As she preens under the praise, she gives a hopeful and expectant look at her trainer, who glares at Meowth and mumbles impossible promises. However, it is then Erica and Vileplume approach, having overheard, and as she extends the hand with the rainbow badge in it, she produces the very stone that they need in the other hand, explaining she collects them for her gym trainers. And after seeing Ash's bond with his beautiful flower, they both have earned it. Gloom is ecstatic, grabbing the sunstone in one hand and Meowth in the other. Glowing in an evolutionary light, Gloom spins, taking Meowth along for the ride. The cat protests at first, but before he can make too much of fuss, the once timid little weed has now become a confident, beautiful flower. This brings a tear to its eye, but he has little time to fake something, getting caught in it as the newly evolved Bellossom leads him into a waltz. While those two dance away, Giselle rejoins them, congratulating the team on a big day with an evolution and a gym badge. It's these small moments that make life precious. And after what he's been through, Ash wholeheartedly agrees, laughing genuinely for the first time in a while, only to be stopped when a familiar voice cries his name. Turning, Ash locks eyes with Misty. And that's all we have for part 4 of What If Giovanni Sponsored Ash Season 2. How'd you guys feel about this one? Do you think Giovanni's time is coming to an end? How did you feel about the gym battle between Erica and Ash and the evolution with Gloom? And of course, what is Misty's reaction to Ash gonna be? Let us know in the comments down below and let's get that discussion going. And if you haven't already, make sure to follow me plus Ultraman on our other platforms like Twitter or Discord. The links will be in the description below. And if you want to help support the channel a little bit further, make sure to donate on Patreon. For only $5 a month, you'll get up to a week's early access to all of my content. Every little bit that you donate will help the channel grow. But with all that being said, it's time to sign out the video the best way we know how, by thanking the sponsors, the patrons: Silverheart Soul, Robert, Vegito Gaming 78, Andrew McCartney, Holosif, Julian Rodriguez, Ruben Watson, Lord Explosion Murder, Assassin 139, Flyer 943, Shadow Dragon, Hey McKnight, Kevin A. Tran, Drax, Adrian Carr, Dino King, Dalen Silva, Fox King, Warren E. Taylor, plus Ultraman, Mega, Mike Logan, Kendo Green, Earth Dragon, John Larson, Josh Van Mepplen, Forbidden Super, Dylan Nicholson, Gerald Smith, Normandy 1998, Chris Lackman, The Shadows, Trainer Rad 164, Rowboat, Johnny, Brad 1, Adam Jimenez, Ifosa Amid, Indigo Saturn 64, Kevin Malula, and Chris Collins. Thank you all very much, and I will see you in the next video.